Let's chat about our 8th grade homeschool year. Hi, I'm Aileen. This is Homeschool with the Clarks. This last school year, I homeschooled 4 kiddos in 8th grade, 6th grade, 3rd grade, and TK. Today, I just want to do a recap on how our 8th grade year went in homeschool. I'm going to go over everything we plan to use in the beginning of the school year and what we stuck with, anything that may have changed. So let's get into it. All right, so I did have to go back and watch my 8th grade curriculum picks video just to make sure I didn't miss anything. So I will link that up here if you haven't seen it. Let's start by talking about math. So for math this year, my 8th grader used Saxon Math 8.7, which is their pre-algebra-esque level. And he did that with Nicole the Math Lady, which is an online platform. It has video lessons tailored to the Saxon Math, and then it is all electronic. So he does the math work on paper, but then enters it into the computer. And I like it because it gives them instant feedback. It will tell them right away if it's incorrect. And I had it set up for him to allow him to try again if he got it wrong. And that went really well for us. We used Saxon for 7th grade as well. So I assumed it was going to go well, and it really did. I feel like his confidence in math has just continued to grow. He rarely needed my help. The video lessons did a really great job of breaking down how to do the math. There did seem to be more video lessons in level 8.7 with Nicole the Math Lady, especially in the beginning of the year. I did hear a lot of complaints from him about just feeling like he was spending a long time watching the videos. So I would say that was the only thing that he didn't love. He really looked forward to the test days because those were short math days for him because the test didn't take very long and he didn't have to watch any videos. But overall, I feel like a Saxon with Nicole the Math Lady, it's a great pair for us, and it was a win. For English language arts, we used 2 different programs. The first one was Beyond the Page. We used the ages 12 to 14 level, which is their 8th grade level. Because we also used another curriculum for writing and grammar, I did pick and choose what I had him do in the curriculum. We skipped most of all of the writing assignments and the grammar assignments, and we would do obviously the reading. He would do the comprehension questions, and generally I would have him do one other assignment each day in the curriculum. They always have all different kinds of things. They talk about literary devices. They do some literary analysis in that level. They have vocabulary, which we always did, but there was generally only 1 or 2 vocabulary assignments for each book, usually 1 in the beginning, and then depending on the length of the book, there would be 1 midway through. So I always had him do the vocabulary. I feel like it went well. He liked some of the books better than others. We did not get to all of the books. The one book that he did not get to was the Albert Einstein science book, which I knew at the beginning of the school year that we were not going to get to all of the books. So I let him look through and veto one of the books, and that's the one that he vetoed. Now, I will say that if he could go back, that is not the one that he would have vetoed. The one he would have vetoed is the first book in the 8th grade level, and that is Abigail Adams. That book, I don't know why they start with that book because it is just incredibly dry and long and cumbersome to read. At least it was for my kiddo, but then I talked to my friend and she said she's had similar issues. So I don't think it's just me or my kiddo. I think that book is just kind of a tough one. They did include a lot of really great books in their 8th grade level. And I think overall he had a really good experience being exposed to lots of classic literature, some sci-fi. He read The House of the Scorpion, which is about cloning, and that opened up some really great discussions between he and I about like just the ethics behind cloning. So I was really happy with the year. He was happy with it for the most part. He did utilize audiobooks for some of the books. He read Huckleberry Finn, and that one I did suggest that he use the audiobook just because there is a lot of dialect in there, and I wanted him to really get immersed in the story and not get hung up on the dialect. So listening to the audiobook was really helpful for him. The other thing that we used for English language arts for 8th grade this year was EIW, or Essentials in Writing. He used the level 8, which is a mixture of grammar and writing composition lessons. The first section of the book is on grammar. The second section of the book is on writing composition, but I had him swap back and forth after each like section, which was like a couple weeks on one, and then he would move to the writing and do a couple weeks on that. So it was like he'd do some grammar concepts and then he'd move over and practice some different paragraphs, which was review for him. And then he would learn some more grammar concepts, and then he would start working on essays. And back and forth he went. They did summaries. They did a research project. They had a business letter. We did end up skipping the business letter because I wanted to get to the research project this year. And I knew that timing wise, with using both curriculums, we just were not going to get to it. And that was the best decision for us because it was not stressful at the end of the year. He had plenty of time to work on his research paper, and I was happy with it. We did also try something new this year, which was the grading service from EIW. And at first, I want to say that I was a little hesitant. So first of all, you don't submit every single assignment to the grader. It's only like maybe 15. So a handful of the ones from grammar, and then all of the writing assignments you submit. When he first started submitting, he would submit the grammar assignments and he was getting 100% every time. And that gave me some pause because I wanted him to get feedback. And if we're paying for this service, I was concerned that he wasn't going to get feedback. But technically, per the rubric, he got everything correct. So that was why they gave him 100%. Once he got in the writing, though, she definitely gave feedback. In fact, he had to write a narrative. And the first narrative that he submitted was very lazy. It was very lazy. And they don't normally send it back and say, you need to do this again. But she sent it back and said, you can do better. Do this again, which I really appreciated. And that really motivated him. And it was from someone other than me motivating him to do a better job. And I feel like the narrative ended up being his best piece of writing for the entire school year. So it was great for him to get that feedback. I feel like their grading was very fair and very clear on what needed to be fixed, what could be worked on, what went well. They do have a rubric that's included in the curriculum, so you could use the rubric yourself and not use the grading service. But it was just, for me, it was two things. It was taking it off of my plate because I added my fourth child to our homeschool this year with TK, but it was also giving him the opportunity to get feedback from someone other than me. And so for us, it worked really well. Even though I was not unsure about it at first, I did end up really liking the service and I would recommend it. Another thing I want to point out, which not everyone does testing, we do participate in state testing. And so I do want to mention that, he has not always been the best tester. And I know that there's a lot of different things that go into that. But his test scores went up significantly this year. And I do think that part of it was maturity, but the other piece of it was that we were staying the course with the curriculum. I was challenging him and not giving in. I was continuing to make a solid effort to ensure that he had a rigorous course load. And it really did show in his testing this year. For history and science, we did do family style history and science. You'll have to stick around for that video. That will come in a couple of weeks. I'll be doing these in order. It'll go 8th grade, 6th grade, 3rd grade, TK, and then our family studies. And I try and post twice a week. So it will get posted soon. If you want to hit the notifications, you'll get notified, or just subscribe to my channel. It should show up in your feed. The only other thing I want to go over is enrichment, because I love when people share what they do for their kids for enrichment. So I try and share that as well. And we did a couple of things. In 7th grade, he took private piano lessons out of our home, like at someone else's home. And this year he expressed that he didn't want to take piano anymore, but I wanted piano to happen. And so we ended up coming up with a compromise, and that was Hoffman Academy, which is an online piano lesson company. It's not live. They're recorded videos. You can actually access them for free on YouTube or get a free account on their website. We've used it in the past and it has not been successful, but this time I paid for their premium version, and that made a huge difference because with their premium version, we got access to their music books. So I printed out everything for book 1 and I hole punched it and put it in a binder. Yes, I could have probably started him on book 2, but I made him start from the beginning. It includes games and practice sessions with the premium, and that really made a difference for him in being motivated to do piano. So I just put it on his checklist to do it every day. Just 10 or 15 minutes, not a lot of time, but just like work on it because I wanted him to keep doing music. And I would find him just playing piano on his own for fun. And I feel like the addition of the premium features really helped. The other thing that he did on the computer this year was typing. We used typing.com. It was okay. He's not touch typing by any means, but he is more experienced in it. He's very resistant to touch typing. He just wants to peck with his fingers, but we did do it. And I feel like he is very confident using word processing like Google Docs and things like that. And so that's what I need him to be experienced in. So that worked. It's not my favorite, but it was fine. Another thing that I shared in the beginning of this year was that we've always had him in a sport like pretty much year round since he was 5 years old. And we decided to let him take the fall off and not do a sport. And the plan was that he was going to do PE at home. He was going to be sticking with it and committing to it. And I was going to be giving him assignments, and that just did not work. And I should have known that that wasn't going to work, but I let us try it. So for the fall, he didn't do anything, but then once winter came, he did end up doing indoor soccer, and then he did an outdoor soccer league, and then he ended up trying jujitsu, which has been great. He actually really loves jujitsu. It's great exercise. And, I think it's helpful to have some self-defense knowledge, but also it's a lot about like self-control. And I just feel like it's just been so great for him. And he comes home exhausted. Sorry, my light died on me there. So moving on from PE, the last piece of enrichment that he did this year that he does every year is Boy Scouts. And he's really had kind of a mindset shift with Boy Scouts over the last year. It used to be kind of like second fiddle to sports, and now it's like the top priority. And he has advanced 2 ranks in Boy Scouts in the last year. He got a whole handful of merit badges. He's in a leadership position now. And I just feel like it's helped him grow so much. And I love it. I love Boy Scouts. I think they're a great program, and we are definitely going to be sticking with that. If you're not super familiar with them, there's Cub Scouts, which goes like in elementary school. But then once you get to Boy Scouts, it's boy-led. And in order to rank up, they have to get a certain amount of things done. But then as they move through their ranks, they have to go on an interview panel, essentially. It's called a board of review, and they have to interview with like 3 adults and answer questions about what they've accomplished and their goals. And it's just such a good practice for real life. And then as they progress, they also have to be in a leadership role. And so this year he has been leading a small group of boys, and essentially he has to make sure that they're following the rules. And that's tricky. And it's especially tricky when you tend to be the goofball and then you have to like be a leader. So that's really stretched him in like the best way. And with that, he has also had to do some public speaking. They do these events 3 times a year where they give out like rank advancements and things. And he's been up there at the front speaking in front of the whole group and giving out awards. And it's been fantastic. It's such a great way for him to experience all of this in the real world. So that is it for my 8th grade recap. If you liked it, I'd love it if you'd give me a thumbs up, and then I will be back here next with my 6th grade recap.